You buy a ticket. You pick the numbers. For a few seconds before the drawing, you let yourself imagine it. The house, the car, the phone call where you quit your job. You picture the moment the money arrives and the moment your life finally starts. But the real answer to what happens after the win is far stranger than the fantasy. Because for a huge number of people who actually win, the money doesn't start their life. It ends the one they had. Some go bankrupt. Some lose their families. Some say, years later, that the day they won was the worst day of their life. Not despite the money. Because of it. That sounds impossible. How can more money make anything worse? It seems to break a rule everyone assumes is true. To understand it, you have to go back to 1978, to a psychologist named Philip Brickman. He wanted to know something simple. Are lottery winners happier than everyone else? So he tracked down a group of major lottery winners and compared them to a control group of ordinary people. Then, for a separate comparison, he added a third group. People who had recently become paraplegic after an accident. The results should have been obvious. Winners happy. Accident victims devastated. Everyone else in the middle. That is not what he found. Within about a year, the lottery winners were not measurably happier than the people who had won nothing at all. Their joy hadn't built into something lasting. It had evaporated. And the accident victims, the ones who had lost the use of their legs, were not nearly as miserable as anyone predicted. Many of them had returned close to their original baseline of happiness. Simple daily moments, a good meal, a conversation, a quiet morning, brought them nearly as much pleasure as it had before the accident. Brickman had stumbled onto something that would later get a name: hedonic adaptation. Your brain doesn't measure happiness in absolute terms. It measures it in change. A win feels incredible the moment it happens because it's new. Then your brain adjusts to it as the new normal. And once something is normal, it stops generating joy. This is the same mechanism that explains why a raise feels amazing for exactly one paycheck cycle and then becomes just your salary. Why a new phone feels incredible for 2 weeks and then becomes just your phone. Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist who later won a Nobel Prize for his work on decision-making, called this the hedonic treadmill. You run toward a reward. You reach it. And the treadmill resets your baseline right under your feet, so you have to run again, just to feel the same as before. For most people, this is mildly disappointing. The new car loses its magic. You adjust, you move on. But notice what the treadmill actually requires. To keep feeling good, you don't need more. You need more than last time. Every win has to be bigger than the one before it forever, or your brain registers it as a loss. That's an impossible race. Nobody wins a race against their own rising baseline. For lottery winners, the stakes are much higher, because the adaptation doesn't just apply to the money. It applies to everything the money touches. Here is where the story gets stranger. In 2016, an economist named Jay Zagorsky, working out of Ohio State University, dug through years of financial data on lottery winners. He wanted to know whether sudden wealth actually changed people's long-term financial trajectory. It mostly didn't. Winners who were already in financial trouble before they won tended to be back in financial trouble within a few years, sometimes even bankrupt, despite the windfall. The money didn't fix the underlying patterns. It just delayed them, and in some cases, it made the eventual crash bigger. That last part is worth sitting with. Bigger windfall, bigger crash, not smaller. You would expect more money to create more cushion. Instead, for many of the people in his data, it created more room to repeat the same mistakes at a larger scale before landing in the exact financial position they started from, just years later, and with a much sharper sense of loss.